Hey guys, Ghost here, Dave here, and today we're going to be looking at what I consider to be the 10 best auto rifles for PvP currently going into Shadowkeep. While auto rifles currently sit pretty mid to low in most people's weapon tier lists, Shadowkeep brings range nerfs to hand cannons and pulse rifles, which means auto rifles have a likely chance to occupy the mid-range here in the Crucible, seeing as their time to kills are already on par with other popular weapon types and are fairly forgiving with bodies or missed shots. Every auto rifle on this list I consider to be really good, meaning if it's on this list I highly recommend getting them before or during Shadowkeep. With Festival of the Lost confirmed coming back this October, we can only hope the horror story makes its return as well. Because while it's not number one on this list, the horror story is my personal favorite. Having strong stats across the board and a set roll, for now, make this weapon so good it's scary. Bad jokes aside, the precision frame gives it a naturally high recoil direction, with Zen Moment, a medium rate of fire, and good per bullet damage, make landing your optimal time to kills, weakening, or just cleaning up targets a breeze. Add a Rampage on top of that, and you understand exactly why it's the first weapon on our list.
Double down.
While the Breakneck was originally intended for Gambit, it's no surprise a Pinnacle is viable in other activities as well. The Breakneck here is carried by high stability, good range, and its ability to chain kills. Downside is just that the reload speed is pretty bad, but while Onslaught increases your fire rate for every stack of Rampage, it also increases your reload speed. Rampage obviously already adds damage, and while its damage changes for its different RPMs, its time to kill always increases, which pairs awesome with Devour or One-Eyed Mask. However, its zoom magnification is lower than most, which makes it stronger in close quarters, but actually makes its damage drop off earlier, realistically meaning its range stat is 10 lower than it says. Fire rate and damage increases definitely make up for that though, so if you can get that initial kill, Breakneck will break necks. Cerberus +1 is a weapon that plenty of people already wrote off as a meme, although it is actually rather strong. While its stats are low, this auto rifle fires 4 shots for every trigger pull, which makes it the fastest firing shotgun we have. At its worst, Cerberus +1 is a 360 RPM auto rifle because one shot is always centered, which 360s are arguably the second best archetype right now anyways, so at its worst, it's still pretty good. However, add in good or even decent RNG with your extra pellets and this thing becomes a monster. It's a good shotgun counter, and because it's pretty much a primary shotgun itself, it pairs really well with a sniper without having to run 2 special weapons. When it comes to 450s, the Ringing Nail takes the cake. The Black Armory auto rifle offers high default stats across the board with even better range. You'd be surprised the ranges you can easily duel at, along with little to no kick makes the dueling even easier. It rolls different sights so you can choose the one you like the most, or have different options for different maps if you get lucky enough. Paired with a very nice selection of traits, so this is pretty much the Build-A-Bear of guns. You choose the perks that suit the playstyle you want, and bam, the Ringing Nail will hammer your opponents. The Valakadyn is my white whale. I had never gotten a good roll of this weapon. Until recently, after a full year, I had never been able to review it. But because I knew people considered it to be a really good auto rifle, I needed to get one if I wanted this list to be fair. So I turned in every last material I had, and out popped a pretty good roll. It was well worth it, seeing as it made the list, even without kill clip. A large magazine size and high fire rate already make this a strong weapon because you can freely spam shots, and the sight being very appealing to use as well is a big bonus. There's something about Viced weapons in the way that they always feel so nice. Think the Recluse without Master of Arms, but instead you traded that for more range. This is the one and only 720 rapid fire on our list because 720s are really good on paper, but they can be pretty hit or miss. And I guess the Valakadyn never misses, huh? These are most likely the legendary auto rifles you see people use the most, and for good reason. High impact frame 360s are hard hitting, slow firing beasts. They're also the easiest to use for people who aren't used to using autos. So we have 2 in the slot because honestly these weapons feel incredibly similar to one another with close trade-offs. Halfdan-D requires a good roll to be very strong, and really I recommend the LC Hollow sight, but when you actually get a good one from the gunsmith, it is incredible. It's another weapon where you can have multiple sights if you get lucky, but depending on the roll, you can easily max the range stat, which means you can hit your 6 bullet optimal time to kill of 0.83 seconds at really nasty ranges. Then paired with Kill Clip or Rampage, I'd say this gun is upgraded to Daniel. Or if you want on his good side, I suggest you call him Sir. GHALRAN'S is a lot easier to farm as it can drop at any point in the Crown of Sorrow raid. Having a set sight and easily maxing its range stat as well, getting a good roll is much more forgiving. Paired with multi-kill clip, it can wear Daniel's shoes when he's not around. When it comes to auto rifles, adaptive frame 600 RPMs are king, and we definitely stand the optimal time to kill that matches 150 RPM hand cannons, just like spare rations are not forgotten. The gnawing hunger has almost no kick on top of the running trend of mostly strong rounded stats, with handling being its highest. It rolls almost exclusively damage traits in its second slot, however I think the curated roll is key here. The curated roll is the only one with overflow, so walking over a green brick doubles your magazine size and instantly reloads it, which makes chaining rampage stacks, even in the Crucible, a pretty consistent thing for this weapon to do. It has a really nice simplistic sight, actually like Breakneck's where it has less zoom so it excels in close range, but still does well at range because if played right you never have to reload, so on top of never reloading, spamming bullets down a range, and gaining damage for each kill, add in a couple of yells, and you're Rambo just like you always wanted to be. So, Hardlight is a gun with a bit of controversy around it. No, it's not getting cancelled. However, when the gun is fired, the screen bounces or shakes, and this has thrown a lot of people off entirely, so much so that they won't even touch it. I expected to put this gun in honorable mentions because of that, but after using it, I was hooked. Personally, I didn't find the screen shake that bad, and looking past that, it is an incredibly potent 600. So this gun has ricochet rounds that pierce through targets and have no damage fall off whatsoever. And the ricocheted shots do more damage. That's a lot going for it. It has the best auto rifle time to kill with no damage fall off, and on a separate note, I was able to snag 2 gnarly ricochet round kills in a single game. This gun seriously caught me off guard, because just like my screen, I was shaking. If it didn't have the screen shake, it would be number 1 without a doubt. A better ornament would have helped it too. This should come as a surprise to no one. Or, if there's any surprise, it's that this gun isn't number 1. Suros Regime is the auto rifle I see the most in the Crucible, and the one I commonly see the most praise for. Let me add a little bit more to that. Its exotic perk is that kills have a chance to start health regen immediately, and the bottom half of the mag does more damage. The gun then has a catalyst that makes the chance of health regen proccing even more likely, which is really good. It has 2 fire rates, and I would argue that both of these fire rates belong in this slot. You choose from the gun's fire rate spinning up when you shoot it to the gun having a slowed rate of fire when looking down sights. So either you have a Suros as a 360 RPM or you have it as a 600 RPM whose fire rate and thus time to kill only gets faster. Especially getting down to your glass half full shots, Suros absolutely melts its opponents and allows you to play as aggressive as you want, 50% of the time. When spun up, its time to kill is better than 150 RPM hand cannons, meaning if your tracking is good enough, it can flat out beat meta. But if you're the type that prefers dual speed receiver, it can still, because its time to kill is literally 0.03 hundredths of a second off, along with this version giving you more range. No matter how you run it, get ready Shadowkeep, because this regime is coming to the Crucible. Sweet Business is everyone's favorite original meme gun, except it's actually pretty good. It was on the original version of this list, but reasonably it just didn't cut it. Once it's spun up, which takes about 12 shots, it's got an incredibly fast time to kill, with the downside being everyone on the map immediately knows where you are. However, it is getting buffed come Shadowkeep with more body shot damage, armor piercing rounds, and 150 bullets in the magazine, which I am super stoked for. After all, can you believe my first Ghost in the Night medal was with this gun? Yeah, seriously. Galliard is another 600, so of course it'll get mentioned on this list. Being a 600 means it by default is pretty good. It's a Suros weapon which I personally dig the design for, and it rolls with one of my favorite sights in the entire game. I've messed with a couple rolls of it, and it's pretty good, but it's really hard to grind for a good roll, and in my opinion, it's a bit worse off than the other 600s, so it may not entirely be worth it. ORIMUND'S Anvil is my favorite year 1 gun to use in Destiny 2. This weapon is just like the Ringing Nail, as it has an incredible range stat and it's not lacking in any of the other slots. But it's lacking in the sense of not having random rolls, a mod socket, or a year 2 masterwork. It's a lot of fun for what it is, but maybe if we're lucky we'll see it return in year 3. And the Daev'ja is in. Out of every auto rifle on this list, the Aether Doctor is not only the greatest, but also the most slept on weapon here. If 600s are kings, then the Aether Doctor is the king of kings. Rounded stats with higher handling, reload speed, and magazine size, which means when looking for a god roll, you want to put everything into range perk-wise, and maybe a trait to help with stability if you struggle with controlling kick. And bam, you're golden. Most if not all of the sights it can roll highlight your targets, which really makes tracking a lot easier and also allows you to see through visual clutter like grenades, smokes, or even just poor lighting. If you want Rampage to chain kills, go for it, because Rampage works really well on it. However, I personally opted for consistency. Under pressure and dynamic sway reduction works so well together, because as you're firing, the gun becomes more stable and your bullets become more clustered at range, which allows you to absolutely map people. I've been able to box with pulse rifles and even outrange non-memento mori ace with this gun more times than I can count, while meeting an optimal time to kill that's better than theirs. I use this gun for a vast majority of my legend grinding comp, and at no point in time did it stop performing against whatever was thrown at it. So that is my top 10 autos list. If you disagree with any of these choices, or you just happen to have your own personal list, feel free to let me know down below. Along with, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share the video with your friends, do whatever you want, and have a good day. But most importantly, I suggest you stock up on apples, because in Shadowkeep, you better hope they keep this doctor away. But they won't.